Well, hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Is it as hot where you are as it is where we are? Because, man, we are being chased inside by the heat today, gents. Uh, Welcome back to Saturday morning with Crusty Old Crow. I dropped the GI Crow because there's too many GI guys out there, and GI bro, I don't even want to come close. That guy's a tough guy. I know we got Son of Crayon Slayer and Daredevil Dave in the chat. I just want to quickly say hi to them, and I'm going to roll right into this because we got a lot to go through today. I've got a guest on here that you guys haven't probably seen in our circles before, or maybe a few of you have ventured down these 3D print rabbit holes of our Joe Classified loving community. You might have come across him at some point. But it's a guy that I started following when I first started my channel back when me and Aaron the Toy Enhancer first met. I had also seen this guy, and I took a hard interest in his approach to his channel and his business because he is a U.S. military veteran. He's a Marine, and that sparked my interest. So, guys, I want to introduce you to John from Top Fun Retro 3D, or Toys 3D, pardon me. I'm going to bring him on the stage and introduce you. And if you were at Joe Fest, please identify yourself and say hi and again to John. Hi, John.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. I just got off of 24 hours of Marine Corps duty, so I'm super excited to be here. I brought a ton of figs to show off, some kit bash stuff. Really excited to see where this is going to go.
Awesome. Yeah, no, John and I have been in talks about this for quite some time since Joe Fest. It's just, as you guys know with the channel, there was a hiatus while I went and dealt with some life stuff, trying to get back at the stride of it. And the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that I followed up on what you and I had talked about, John, back at Joe Fest, was touching base with you and making sure that we talked about these amazing 3D printed guns that you do on the side, but also your fandom for toys and what got you into all this. I want you to introduce yourself that way. So, first off, why don't we start with where are you from? Then tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
So I grew up primarily in north of Houston, about 50 miles in the Conroe area. Grew up in the woods, playing Army, playing GI Joes. I collected the ARA figures ever since I was a kid, and it was Christmas mornings, Legos and GI Joes, and that was the bread and butter, of my childhood was spending time being creative with Legos. I had constructs and building spaceships and vehicles and tanks for the GI Joes well into I was probably in 6th grade still doing that. And then, many years later, I decided I had to prove myself or something. So I joined the Marine Corps and spent 20 years there, about to retire. I'm at 19 and a half years now. So I've got a little bit longer if we cross that finish line. And I got into 3D printing. I was FDM printing because I really wanted to 3D print some Boba Fett armor because my kids, my oldest wanted to do Star Wars. She wanted to be Cara Dune. And so I was like, all right, well, I got this 3D printer. We're going to 3D print some Boba Fett armor. And it was a Creality CR10 V3. So it was like a 300 by 300 by 400 millimeter build plate or print bed. So I could print a full-size Boba Fett helmet. I could print the armor. So if I quantify something like, that's 24 Boba Fett helmets, that's what that means.
Okay. Yeah, no, actually, that's interesting. Just because when you started giving the dimensions of the print, I'm like, well, shit, that's cosplay plating. That's building cosplay stuff, which, as the guys in the chat will tell you, and as you probably saw at Joe Fest, Aaron the Toy Enhancer is quite the cosplay enthusiast, and he had just done a Viper helmet, and I know he's planning on trying to make it here today to join us. Him and Down South 77 both said that they're going to try and pit in a little bit later in the show, hopefully. But he's definitely going to want to watch the replay to hear what you're using. And he might want to talk to you later about any kind of little hacks you might have found to make things easier with cosplay stuff. So both.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
the
a whole
Star
different
Wars
beast.
influence. Yeah, the Star Wars influence is what started it then? Can you talk a bit about Star Wars?
Yeah, I don't have my Black Series figures in front of me, and there's another sort of announcement I'm kind of working on with Star Wars on my website. But I was also a huge Star Wars fan, so I have all of my original Kenner figures, and my daughter and I would play with these, and we'd make a little Lincoln Log restaurant, and the rebels would be the customers, and the Empire would be the people who work there, and they sort of had these funny drive-through exchanges. So, and then we did that with GI Joes. Once Super 7 came out with the 3 3/4, she wanted action figures, and they do make a lot of female figures, so that was really cool to get her some kind of action figure. There was a level of interoperability between the old stuff that I still had and this new stuff that was also catered to so a girl could play with it and not feel like everybody's a dude. Now they have some some females with ponytails and blonde hair, brown hair, different color skin, so that she could interact with it a little, instead of just playing with what she thought was boys' toys. It was for everybody. And then a couple Halloweens later, 'cause I do Halloween and Christmas really big.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, I've seen some of your photos, and I know that you celebrate well. let's say that. Being the dad of 2 daughters, are both daughters into action figures, or is it just the one?
So the little one, my oldest my oldest is the one who really likes it, but my youngest, sometimes she'll bring her little mini Shopkin things. It's like a bucket of chicken or a French fry, and we'll incorporate that into whatever we're playing. So we'll all kind of play together. And it's not like necessarily combat driven, but they're in little vehicles and tanks and driving up and ordering through the drive-through. So it's something that we can all kind of interact and play with. I think there was one time we played Classroom, and like Han Solo was the instructor teaching people how to use the AK and explaining the finer points of that.
Right.
And then a couple Halloweens later, I decided to kick it up because my youngest has always loved Ghostbusters. I have it on my phone, so I'll show you. I hope I know the resolution is going to be poor, but I did a full proton pack.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Seen. You did it. Yeah.
That is all 3D printed. There's another one with the wand. Oh, getting texts.
Yeah.
And and that was just so much fun to put together. It took 6 weeks to make this thing, and it lights up. And I made one for my daughter, so we got the flight suits. And so every Halloween, I'm a Ghostbuster. She kind of changes what she wants to do, depending on kid growing up and where they're at in their life. But I love the Ghostbusters too, and I still have some of my Ghostbuster stuff when I was a kid. So I grew up playing with action figures, whether it was Ghostbusters, GI Joe. I could probably recite almost any line from Ghostbusters. Absolutely love the original. Peter. I love Peter Venkman. I love Bill Murray. So like the 80s movies like Caddyshack, anything with Bill Murray in it. Scrooged is also great. So we kind of like, my world kind of revolves around 80s, 80s movies and the classics. So then with these little the Super 7 figures, the guns were kind of crappy. So I was like, well, I've always wanted to get a resin printer. This is a good excuse for me to get one, because maybe I can find files to print, little better guns. So I got her like a weapons identification book and an aircraft identification book. She likes Top Gun. So it would just kind of encourage her to look at something different. And I found like a lot of the files online, if they were free, they weren't very good. And I had been messing with CAD because I made some modifications to that Ghostbuster pack for the lights. And I was like, well, I could probably make something. So the first thing I ever designed was it was a classified scale Aura spirit rifle. So his dart gun. And that was the first thing I ever made. The first gun I ever made. I'd modified some things, but it was the first thing I made from scratch. And I was like, well, I could do this. This isn't that hard. So I taught myself kind of how to use CAD over the last, 3 years. And here we are today.
And just to give you an idea, I'll just hold up one of yours to show, because some guys might not be familiar, and this is where he's gotten to, right? Like if you want really good, real based weapons coming from a place of knowledge. This is what you're going to find on his site. So like I said, myself, Aaron, Darren, a whole bunch of people bought a bunch of these. Loki, Wartooth, I think even grabs them and them. Daredevil Dave. This is what we were talking about. He taught himself how to do that. There we go. I'm trying to get myself out of there. There we go. So the fact that you're self-taught on doing this design and bringing that stuff, I think is a very impressive point. I'm just going to quickly ask that question. Do you see it on your screen, Bobby? Asking you, did you ever get the file on Thingiverse for the Death Star walls of the Black Series?
I've seen it. And I want to start doing what I do with the G.I. Joe weapons or the classified 112 scale weapons. I want to do that with the Star Wars Black Series. So I would incorporate some laser blast effects to make some screen accurate. So you can set up a firefight between your stormtroopers and your Rebel Alliance, and it'll look like they're shooting, and maybe there'll be multiple laser beams. I'm going to use acrylic rods and dye them.
Yeah.
Because I did blast effects for an RPG, and I found like I'm a pretty creative person. If I'm putting together Ghostbuster packs, I can that's how I think. So I wanted to use some of those, what you're talking about, the Death Star walls for the photography when I do break into the Star Wars stuff, because I really do love Star Wars, and I have a ton of the Black Series figures. I just sometimes you'll see Boba Fett incorporated into the class or the weapons photography I do for the site. But I absolutely have a place. Star Wars is a big place in my heart. Your Boba Fett and your original trilogy. I absolutely love that stuff. So, they do make some really cool stuff.
You got me with the Ghostbusters stuff. I mean, we just kind of glazed over that the other night, and I didn't really pay it much mind. But of course, that is core to most of our childhoods here, right? Like, if you didn't know who Peter Venkman was, you just immigrated to this continent, right? My kid went as Venkman before he was, out of the cute phase when he was about 5. I made him an entire Venkman costume out of foam. I would have loved to have found your 3D print at the time, but I don't know if I would have been able to afford that. That had to have been pretty expensive to make with the way you made that thing. But I just want to pay you kudos. Like, that was incredible. What about the new Ghostbuster stuff? Do you have your design set on doing anything to supplement the new O-ring Ghostbuster line that's come out now that we've seen that? Or do you have the new Ecto for that line, or do you have intents of getting it and doing stuff?
So I don't have the Ecto from that line, but I got my daughter the Ecto from the it was about 2 Christmases ago, where they had the newer figures and they remade the original guys, but it was from the Afterlife movie, so they had an Ecto from there. Now with O-ring, I am working on it's a special project, and I can't talk a lot about it because it hasn't been publicized, but I'm working on some O-ring sniper systems because I have a manufacturer who wanted me to do some of the guns. So
Sure.
this is in 118 scale, and that is a Shytac intervention that's going out as a prototype, and we're going to be making I think 60 figures, and I'm supplying the weapons for those. Again, that's about all I can say.
No, that's amazing.
So I am getting in. I do want to get into the 118, and with the packs, because I have the 112 scale Ghostbusters, I've thought like I could print a pack that will light up.
Oh wow!
So you could turn a little switch on.
Just a small,
that would be
That'd be
cool. Awesome. Maybe trying to do because I know the librarian spirit, the one that haunts the New York Library, that figure goes for like several $100s, but it wouldn't be difficult. It's something I would have to outsource, but to have that made, have the files generated for that. I'm pretty good with making like small shapes and turning them to bigger shapes, like organic material. I haven't really messed with because that's not something you necessarily see on a firearm, but I can do cylinders and, cut holes inside of other cylinders and make, a quad rail or make a suppressor or make a receiver. That's pretty easy.
And I mean, military kit's one of those things where you kind of get a little bit, not just an edge in your subject knowledge and all of that and your insights, right? But sometimes when you got a waffle apart, you know the right way to waffle that part where it's convincing enough. But yeah, I mean, most military kit that people want for their dioramas and their classified shelves or just as accessories, it's not like they're asking for a high degree of function. It's the detail, right? And that detail is so important. And you know who else has a keen eye for detail? It's this guy. He's going to join us now. So, John, I'd like to reintroduce you to Aaron the Toy Enhancer. Aaron, John from Top Fun Retro Toys 3D.
How's it going, man? It's been a minute, but yes, I
Good to see
remember.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate the interview we did. I got some interest from that. So thank you very much for spending some time with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, we you were like asking, I remember you were asking to see the video, and I was like, we're live now. But yeah.
And Robert from Infinite Realms is out doing a run around. He's saying hi. We also, Aaron, just to back brief you, if you haven't seen the chat, we got Daredevil Dave, Son of Crayon Slayer, Robert, Bobby Wald's there. I haven't seen Triple C yet, but you know he'll probably watch the replay.
Bro, let me know if my mic sounds funny or if I got too much backfeed coming in from Charlie. Charlie's going wild in his room right next to me, but just let me know if it gets too loud, man.
Nope, that's John's new job now. He's still on duty. He will let you know about the mic. He will let you know about Charlie.
Okay.
We'll do like a...
Yeah. So let's talk about the parent side of the G.I. Joe for a second, just for a quick time out, because I've got 3 dads here, right? John is an anomaly. He's a bit of a unicorn because what all these little whiny people, I won't say whiny, let me rephrase this. What the people that are hyper upset about woke culture affecting the toy market right now, they can't imagine the other perspective. But yet John lives with that other perspective. He's got a little girl who wants to play with G.I. Joe. So who's she identifying with, guys? Now you see what Classified's trying to do. All right. So John, other toy lines that your daughter wanted, you know, does she have that problem with a few others, or is it just mainly the Joe one that you kind of noticed her interest in? And do you agree that she didn't have enough characters, or do you think Classified's fixing this?
So with the Star Wars, you know, I think Kenner, you know, they had, I mean, they had aliens. So to say like their character line wasn't diverse would be, you know, a total mistake to say that. So we had some Princess Leia's and some other things. The Super 7, I think it sort of, you know, got the hook into her to, you know, to play with these figures because it was just something that she could identify with a little bit better. Vice a bunch of burly dudes like, oh, there's a girl with a ponytail. She also comes with a gun. That's pretty neat. Yeah. So, you know, I've got a couple friends that they were really upset about the Marine sniper being a female, and you know, kind of like chewing through that. And I was like, well, first of all, I think the Marine Corps they're not getting rid of snipers, but they're changing a lot of that and where they're located in terms of like a command structure. That's like a super boring policy conversation. And there are no female 0317s. They don't exist. But you know, these are also action figures. So how seriously do we need to take this? Like, and if you're so, you know, set on having a male sniper, well, then make a ghillie suit. You know, I've got one. I should have brought it up, but I made a ghillie suit with little burlap and some. I can go grab it. A little burlap and a mesh bag. So you know,
I did a winter one for Low Light, and Aaron. You've been doing a lot of custom bashes, and I know you have a daughter as well, and you probably have a point on this. If there's anything you want to add to this.
Yeah. I think Hasbro has really gone out of their way, you know, to make a great diversity in the line this time. We have like double the amount of female figs, maybe triple the amount. I mean, at least in my opinion. And I think they went out of their way to welcome the younger girls, you know, if they would play with the toys. Now I do have a daughter, but she is 12 going on 32 right now, and So I understand she's at her teenage brink, and that's when we all kind of, faded out for a little bit out of toys at that point once we found out about boys and just stuff like that, girl gossip, I guess, on their end. We had, of course, we had the boy gossip, cooties were over, and it was like, hey, how you doing? But
Yeah.
that's the phase she's going through. But when I first started the collection, I remember I was buying it like mainly for her, and she was interested. This is two and a half years ago or whatnot. She was interested in it, and she enjoyed like seeing the new figs come in and all that, and she was excited. But I think that was also the turning point of her, breaking out of boy realm. So I one more thing, I have a son, but he is autistic. So his playing capabilities are like he's already like making stuff. Like he's good with clay, he's good with sculpting. So he's kind of not interested in the figures. But I say that now to say this, he may be one day.
Yeah, he just has to find his reason, right? If he hasn't found
Exactly. He may get to that point one day, but right now he just loves simple things like stuffed animals and stuff like that. That's his collection. I'll show it on the channel one day.
You'll have to watch the replay if you weren't listening earlier. John was explaining how he went getting into this all started with the daughter and Cara Dune and a massive 3D printing plate. And I said, well, that was your Viper helmet, right? So John's very familiar with some of that stuff. So you have to catch that.
Yeah.
Now,
I love 3D
just because I have been in Aaron's house and I have seen kind of what his daughter was exposed to. Do your daughters have any interest in Fortnite, and have you looked at those figures?
Oh man, let me tell you about Fortnite. So yes, I love the Fortnite line. I think they make some really cool figures. I did a review of Metal Mouth. I called it Dollar Store Firefly because for a while you could get those.
I watched that.
You could get those at Ross for like $6.99, and they were great figures. And like even the little Barrett 50 cal that comes with it was more realistic than what Hasbro was or what the Classified series was putting out at the time. Like the 249 that comes with Scuba Steve. That's a Scuba. What are the Scuba characters, right? It was very stylized. It was clearly a 249, and again, it was better than the Classified weapons at the time. So I thought that I do have a score of those figures as well. But with Fortnite, what my daughter and I would do is we would go into matches, and I would teach her basic fire team tactics, suppressive fire, the difference between cover and concealment.
Yeah.
And we would go hide in bushes, just the two of us as like basically a sniper team, wait for people to start jumping around like bunny rabbits, and then we'd smoke them. And we would win matches. And it's funny because we'd be on a mic and she'd be in her room and I'd be in the living room. And she started saying stuff like, hey, Dad, we better start stacking up them bodies. And I'm like, where do you get this from? I'm like, oh, me.
Yeah. My son plays a real world warfare game online, this massive MMO where you can do air, navy, tanks and all that, plus World of Tanks. I'm constantly teaching them tactics like, all right, you need to find somebody that can actually do fire support. None of these guys will do that. So you got to go follow him around and support his fire, right? Like just stuff like that. But Aaron, your daughter was into Fortnite as well. I saw that in the room. Is that something she also grew out of? And quickly, I'm just going to say hi to Wraith Mason, Triple C while we're there. But
what's up, Wraith?
Yeah. Did she grow out of it?
Triple C, Wraith, good to see you guys. Yes. Well, here's what happened with the Fortnite collection. Lily started with it, okay, and I built it up. I just bought whatever came into Ollie's and whatnot, and quite a bit came in. And I was about to text him and tell him to bring that gray figure, that Firefly. I was going to tell him to bring it in here, but this is what happened. Is Riley ended up playing the game a lot more, and then she wanted the collection, and her and Lily struck some deal where Lily actually traded, or not traded, but gave her the collection to have in her room. So now it's in Riley's room.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and I say that, but Lily still has her own collection. She collects a lot of pops and a lot of anime stuff that I just don't know about. The anime, I can't keep up with.
Yeah,
It's another realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot they do love that. They do love the Fortnite.
So the reason I bring up the Fortnite is just because I want to visit John's catalog for a second on the things he's prepared to print for and other things like that. Like we've talked a little bit about how it starts with Star Wars. It's huge, classified. Maybe it's going to go down a bit more to the O-ring scale. It's still going to be very military. Well, when I look at Fortnite figures, I'm going to hold up a couple because I just got these and I've been using them a while for conversions, like bucks and pieces. So I look at figures like these.
Oh, we lose them?
No,
I got one sitting right here.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the twin lynxes, like you see characters like they're like, okay, they're a little bit too extreme and whatnot for that. But here's the one that I am definitely throwing into my classified. And I think about gangland weaponry, like urban weapons, not military weapons. John, have you visited the idea? First, have you ever seen the movie? Sorry, I'm going to get back to you guys back on the stage. So hang on. Let me get out of solo layer. There we go. Like End of Watch, where they've got the platinum or the gold plated AK-47, things like this. Have you done any bling style weapons?
Hold on. Let me get one. I got you.
There we go.
I'm glad you asked. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but yes, we have. I did some custom. So I have a guy who does painting. He's also a Marine. So we've got a Krinkov, a little gold-plated Krinkov with some nice wood.
Nice.
I've got another gold with a mother of pearl and just a regular AK with a triangle side folder. And then a SIG 553 Commando gold-plated. And these were some prototypes that we were working on. And the issue is, like, when you have if you've been to the website and you see the catalog, there's a lot of stuff there. So it's not practical for me to keep inventory of every gun in jungle, desert, battle worn, winter camo, gold bling. So what we're working on doing is a custom shop to where people can add whatever flavor camouflage to their weapon. So you buy the weapon, they start about $6, and then you can add a camo to it. So if you want a specific weapon in desert, like you want an SVD in desert, you want SVD in gold, you're going to be able to do that. And we're looking at about a 10-day turnaround time, because these are all hand painted here in the US. Like we're not sending it overseas. This is, again, it's done by another active duty Marine who's been painting for 30 years. So we're going to really do some quality paint jobs. And I think that's going to meet a lot of need in terms of people wanting, like this here. Here's an FG42 I've been working on. I don't know if anyone else makes a 112 scale FG42, but I had a customer ask for it, and I was like, that would look cool, in a camo pattern. That might look cool in gold. It'd look cool with doing the wood on the handguard, on the grips. That would be really neat.
So, Aaron, I see you lining up. Is that your collection of the top fun guns that you picked up at Joe Fest?
Yes, these are.
Let me give you the solo screen for a second. So yeah, because mine are buried in the boxes while I'm trying to get unpacked here. So it's good that
these are the ones I picked up while I was at Joe Fest, and I was stoked because you can see how great they look with my Tiger Force, and that's what I was thinking when I picked them up. I was like, these are amazing. They look great. I'm gonna get some other ones up here.
The ones that John had that I was falling in love with were the really weathered looking ones that look like they've been sitting out in the wind all day. Those are the ones that just were the most relatable. But you're right, with Tiger Force colors, there were some ones there that looked like they were all designed around Rakondo. Speak to it.
All right.
You have a love affair with Rakondo.
My main man, Rakondo. And
thank you, Aaron.
He would not be complete without a proper EBR in desert, because I love the new paint scheme on Rakondo.
Yeah,
it was one of my favorite figures growing up. So we're going to put this in his hands.
Yeah, I appreciate him as well.
And he came with that sort of weird, kind of looks like an EBR, but we gave him a proper EBR, and you'll notice that he even has an offset RMR sight that's painted red right here, an LPVO, a PEC 15, a suppressor, and these are also compatible with the Hasbro blast effect. So if you wanted, obviously you're not going to have this flying out of a suppressor barrel, but all of the barrels, well, I say 90% of the designs are compatible, it says in the description. But I really thought he needed a proper desert. Let me, you can see the contrast there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The detail is immaculate. I know it's hard. It's kind of hard to pick up in my lighting.
It's one of those tricks. If you don't have a ring light right in front of you,
there you go. That's a little bit better.
Yeah, but no, it's showing up well enough. And so, Triple C, if you go into the description of the show today, I actually put John's link to his site, but you could Google Top Fun Retro Toys 3D, and there we go. Screenshot that. And you'll be able to find his site. Don't forget, also, he has a YouTube channel where he's displayed this. But let's transition into that for a second. Let's go back to all of us together here. Let's talk a little bit about where YouTube fell in for you. Like, right away, guys, like, it's a guy running his own business, and YouTube is a device in which people can do that, right? The difference being is sometimes people get a little confused when somebody doesn't love the toy and they're only selling their product. They're using the toy as a device. This is not the case. I wouldn't be having him on the show if I felt that's what this guy was. This is a Joe lover, pure and pure. He has favorite Joes. He has the memories and ties like that. YouTube is not your priority, is it, John?
So we talked a little bit about this earlier, and I want to do something I love when I retire. Like I spent 20 years kind of running around doing all that, and I love playing with action figures. I love making these little guns. I love posing them, taking pictures. I love sharing this because if you go on Facebook in the Joe groups, there's a lot of complaints about the weapons that the Hasbro figures come out with. And if you want to start a business, go on Facebook and look at the smiles and look at the cries. What makes people happy? What are people upset about? And if you can solve that, then you might have a viable business plan.
That's right. Remember I told you I did that entrepreneurial course, and that's what they said. Listen, guys, you're not selling a product. You are selling a need and then filling that. That's it. So you nailed it right there.
And I absolutely do love I love the line. I love the line, the direction it's going. And I know some of my earlier critiques of the classified line that came out, I would speak to. They had those like ridiculous shin guards that looked like they played galactic soccer or something.
Everybody, yeah.
And I think it's through the community collective re-guiding, giving Hasbro some rudder steer. Like, where do we as the consumer, where do we want the line to go? And it wasn't with like a kind of a weird sci-fi. It was a little more of a throwback to the aura, as well as add a little more realism to some of these accessories, which they've done a better job of. Maybe it's still not, on a level of, some of the weapons don't even have sights, and it's like, okay, dude, how are you going to shoot the AK? It's going to have a front sight at all. Like, what are you doing? But that's
you're trying to convince me you've got an iron sight on there, but I don't see it represented. I am trying to find one of the weapons I wanted to talk to you about, but I you know what? It's in a box somewhere. I'll find it halfway through someone else's sentence. Naugahide's bow. Because you have Naugahyde there. I have Naugahyde here, but I've got his bow put away for now. And Aaron, did you get Naugahyde yet?
Yeah, I got my Naugahyde.
Okay, so I was joking saying you could stick it anywhere because it's made of gum, right? You don't need a mount on the backpack. You could just put it on a shoe. But the thing is about Naugahyde's bow, it's the worst case example of really, really pliable plastic. But I think they did this very much intentionally so you could draw the bow. You could have them pulling on it, because if they had made it like a Storm Shadow bow, the string would not be pliable. But as a result, it feels like a terrible weapon done intentionally so.
Well, Naugahyde's hands are so big, because I had a friend who was trying to put an SVD rifle I made into his hands, and I was like, I don't know why it's not fitting. As I put my there you go.
Yeah. Pull back that bow while we talk there, and go ahead.
I
You can keep
I
going.
forget who bounced it off the floor, but I've seen this thing bounce. Like, was it you,
Yeah.
Crow? Did you bounce
Oh,
it?
maybe. I bounced it off something. But yeah, like you can do this and it's not going to snap. You can't do that with previous bows. And that I just bring it up because I know some people are going to sit there and say, oh, it's Hasbro's big, stupid weapon problem again. I'm like, it might be a bit of that. Might be a bit of intentional.
I think it's intentional too because you can get that drawback pose. You can achieve it.
And John's just opening it for the first time. I forgot that we had talked about that. He had bought it and he wanted to open it while we talked about it. So what's your first impression of that?
Well, the first impression is the hands. I got to work these hands because his hands are massive. I mean, we put him next to, anybody else's hands. And I mean, they are dwarfed by these. He got some big mitts.
Hands. Yeah.
Call them
mittens. He is a taller guy,
mitts.
Right? He's a gung-ho scale, right? Like a gung-ho roadblock scale size.
Yeah.
Right? So he's not like a Duke. But
and I lost the suppressor or whatever was going on to that thing. That just fell off.
That thing, yeah. So that even has its own mount on the back of the backpack. There's a little loop for it. And I wanted to tell you, be careful taking Yabo out. You got to like grab him by the asshole and pull his tail out. Or else you'll pull the tail out completely. And you need his tail to feed through one of those backpack holes on the side for him to sit on the shoulder of Nagahide.
Bro, so what are you telling me to do with my monkey?
Yeah, touch the monkey, loves the monkey.
Grab him where?
Fucking me now, Schminky.
So when he does draw the bow, it kind of bows the bow.
Yeah, I'm having the same effect. It will bow the bow a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, like you saw the intent, I think. I still think it was done semi-intentionally, but it doesn't work. Like, I don't think it accomplishes what it wanted to accomplish. And seeing it mounted on the backpack, I'm glad they have a C-clamp mount for it, but because it's so gummy, it just looks like droop. Yeah. I mean, that's about as good as you can get it, really.
Yeah.
But what's with the suppressor on a bow? Somebody.
No, that's a balancer. I actually do archery, but
Okay, good.
That is a balancer on there. Yeah.
I was like, it's already quiet enough.
It's to balance the weight on your drop and everything. When you release a bow, you're supposed to have an open hand, and you're supposed to naturally let your bow fall forward after you release. So in theory, that helps. And everything.
Yeah. So the sniper rifle, it's I don't know, Aaron. Does yours have its own inset spring? I think somebody else claimed that on my page once.
What's that?
Yes, the plastic is back, boys. You can hear it. The spring in the case for the sniper rifle, like it's not a spring, guys. I'm joking. It's just mine has a real hard time staying closed, right? Does yours?
Oh, let me grab it.
Yeah. And John, what do you think of that sniper rifle there, my subject matter expert?
Well, it almost looks like a Barrett MRAD, and I have my version of an MRAD here. And the reason I say that is because of this sort of stylized, skeletonized stock they have.
Yeah.
I found it for 3D printing purposes, and you can see how the light sort of goes through. We'll get this one a little bit closer.
Yeah, we could see the butt stock.
So I had to close off some of that just for structural integrity purposes. But it's not terrible, right? This is not the worst one produced, and the scope comes off. It came off when I tried to pull it out of the box.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do ask for movable bipods, but I've noticed, particularly with Big Ben's rifle and the same double barrel AR that came with the 30th anniversary guys, like that little broom handle that falls off a lot. So I don't know how long these bipods.
Well, did you get the low light from that wave?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it's all that breakaway weapon components for the case. So of course, yeah, bipod's gonna have functionality. It's just coincidence, really, because they want to break it down. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the case sniper rifle, right? One, it's nice for photographs and for dioramas, but for a guy who probably moves his figures on his shelf twice a month at best, and I don't know about you, Aaron, how you feel about it. these parts are just little jeopardies for the floor vents, right? And that's
They
what my
are.
fear
They
with them.
are. I have an entire case. You should see my case of extra accessories,
Oh, I've
and
tons
and
of
they're
them.
not organized at all. You literally just dive in there, and you got to know which one goes where, which I do. But
Yeah.
God forbid me anything ever happened to me, and someone has to go through that case of weaponry. Goodness.
Yeah, even sorting them to get them organized must be hell. And I mean, that is John's life for sure. Like, John, I imagine you must spend the better part of a weekend just going through bags of rifles and putting them into little bags and categories. And, you know, kids are helping you out because you've made promises of some sort. And, you know, Bobby Wold. So, do either of you collect the Indiana Jones series? I know, Aaron, you have one for sure. Did you get any,
Yeah.
John? Okay. Can anybody answer Bobby's question here about the monkey?
Oh, the monkey.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
I'd have to.
Because Naugahyde has a monkey, Bobby's bringing up the little monkey for Indiana Jones. I'm wondering, I guess, if maybe it's a superior monkey or not. I don't know.
If you want to give me a few minutes, I can go get it.
Oh, I mean, if you don't know it off the top of the head, we don't want you to leave, cameraman. I'm the only one who's going to leave the camera here in a minute.
Okay.
That's fine. Triple C has a more pertinent question, Bobby. We'll get you an answer to that at some point. But do your clips come out? It's his one complaint he has about the weapons for G.I. Joe Classified is he's one of the guys that doesn't necessarily want the clips coming out because they are droppable. So do yours?
I agree on that.
I know the answer, but do yours?
Right. So mine do not. Mine are stationary because over time, if you have resin on resin contact, it could degrade that receiver and then the part of the magazine that's supposed to marry up with it. And then you're going to have stuff falling out. So I just elected to make it one piece. That way it's not a liability to be lost, to get eaten by the vacuum or whatever else.
Yeah.
And really, one thing I noticed with the Valaverse weapons, and I put this on the review when I did it was Desert Condor and Desert Rat, was that the magazines in the Valaverse weapons, they're not properly scaled. It almost looks like, a pistol caliber magazine sticking out of a rifle receiver, and they have to do that so there's enough material for the magazine to insert properly without breaking. And it just wasn't something I wanted to mess with. I wanted my designs to be, first of all, affordable at like a $6 entry. And doing that was like, we're just going to make the magazine part of the weapon.
Yeah. And Aaron, I know you're on the same page probably as Triple C and I, where it's like, hey man, unless you're doing 1,000 photos of a reload, we're kind of over it.
Yeah, I'm definitely over the mag, and even like on you can see on John's version here of this what John, I'm sorry, I don't know the technical term for these guns, but
that's a Barrett MRAD.
So this is the Barrett MRAD. Even the scope being attached and everything looks a lot cleaner, a lot more straight, and so on. And then here's the Naugahyde rifle, where I have to constantly adjust the straightness of the silencer and everything, and it's an ongoing nightmare. Even this part constantly falls off. I'd rather things be like this because it's just so much cleaner. I don't have to worry about nothing falling off. In my opinion, this is a million times better than that Naugahyde rifle.
And so Triple C, I know he was asking about Arctic ones. I'm pretty sure John can cover Arctic if that's the request. But guys, I'm going to pause from the guns for a second, just for 1 second, because John, I said I was going to make good on it, and it's happened. You got the entire backyard battlefield here to meet with you today. Thank you.
Look at that. Unprecedented.
Thanks, guys.
What's going on? Good morning, fellas. Good to see you again, John. We didn't get to speak very long at Joe Fest, but we did talk. We were talking about the time that these two crazy guys walked up and you guys started talking, but it was good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. That was such a blast. I can't wait for next year. And you could get hold of me later. I have a discount code for the rooms. It's not tied to me, but for vendors and for attendees, Marriott's giving out little something. So hit me up and I can share that with you because we all know that's a huge expense.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They hadn't, I think they said the tickets were going on sale next week, but they hadn't officially announced the room blocks yet for general public, right?
I bought my vendor spaces. So I don't think the tickets sell out necessarily. I know Friday was a VIP only, and it was really slow. They easily could have let more people in.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that structure. I attended it in 2023, but I just showed up Saturday morning with my oldest daughter, and we had a blast.
Yeah, I'll be buying my tickets as soon as possible this year. Like I want to get the early bird. Like I'm coming again. I'm going again for sure.
It's more so for the discount that you get, you know, buying the early tickets and stuff. Like Crow knows, we were able to score a room like 3 days before the event. And we were there in the hotel. We paid extra, but it was great. It was something that I didn't know I was going to stay in the hotel, and Crow didn't know he was coming till very last. So we had to set things up, you know, a little late for us and everything. But man, was it nice. And you know, my cosplay group, the Finest, they have already sent all those links. They send the information, and they let you know when all that stuff happens, so you can get your room early and get that discount. Man, that discount is wonderful.
So I'm gonna hand this over to Darren and Aaron for a second, just so I can go make a coffee and read myself in. And then, John, when I get back, if you need a break, you can take a break at any point. We're going to stay on for a little while so more people can meet you. I really want to say hi to David R. for joining us today and draw attention that Oz, we saw you, we waved.
Hey, Oz.
Ozymandias is there, Ozymandias Toys. And we're going to have guys popping in and out throughout. And I know people will watch the replay. But I'm going to quickly just jump out. But I wanted to ask you one question, John. This is the thing I deal with being a veteran. These two have heard it enough and they understand it. But when we hear the term, we're talking about fucking toys here, right? Like with us, when we make that big emphasis on the realism of the weapons, do you feel every now and then like they got a good shot on you? Like, yeah, I do have to calm down about this. It is a toy. I feel that sometimes. I'm like, but it's different for us, isn't it? Don't you?
It is. And that's, you know, I've always been like a firearms enthusiast, so it comes very naturally for me to say like, well, that's this, and you know, that's an AK-74, and you can tell the difference because the curvature of the magazine and the compensator. That's clearly not a 47. And they're like, but at the same time, I find myself in the Facebook groups because there's people that are, you know, they're upset because somebody went to Ollie's and you know bought more than their comrade's share of whatever figure was there.
Nobody here would ever do that.
No, never.
So I've chimed in for like, hey, remember, we're grown ass men playing with toys. Like at the end of the day, like, dude, I'm a fat, you know, 42-year-old, you know, washed up chief warrant officer with a stupid mustache and glasses playing with action figures. Like I don't take myself that seriously. Like I can't.
100%. Yeah. We just have different values in this toy line sometimes. That's it. Like
so we've got Flint here with us.
Yeah. Wait, point there. Flint. That's Flint.
Yeah, we've got Flint.
And what's funny though is I've reading the back of his card. It says he's E6, but a warrant officer. So I made a comment like, "Hey, he's got to go to IPAC, the admin section, make sure his pay right. Because if he still get paid as a staff sergeant, that's no good."
John, let's not go down these rabbit holes. Okay, these guys haven't seen a promotion in friggin' 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, right.
The pay clerk is going to have their work cut out when this caught up. I'm going to leave you with these two guys. And Darren, why don't we get you to, anyone have any questions? You guys run it for 5 minutes. Do you mind?
All right, we got you, buddy.
No,
Thanks, boys. Appreciate you.
All
right, I'm going to remove myself from the stage.
How you doing, Darren?
Oh, pretty
good. What time did you go to bed?
Not too long after we wrapped up last night. Okay. I took care of the sleep aids. Well, not too long before we ended. So
okay,
I was actually able
7 a.m.
Yeah, no, I got too much to try to do today. I could have stayed up, but what about you, John? Are you a night owl? You stay up all night like most of us do?
Yes, I find myself, so I have sleep issues as it is, and I will be up till 2, 3 in the morning working on new designs because I just love making new guns. Like I don't make just one version. I have to make like between 6 and 12. So I tell my daughter, like, you're gonna have a hard time in your teenage years thinking you're sneaking out because your old man's gonna be up until 2, 3 in the morning downstairs working on his computer. And I'm gonna see, like, okay, like, I know it was one way out.
I think that just naturally, that just naturally comes in our 40s. I guess we just stay up late, man. We're crafting, we're working. It's like just the thing to do.
Well, you mentioned crafting, and like I think that for men to have a creative outlet, even if it's just doing a kit bash or making something simple, I think that's a huge thing that's missing in our society. Is like, build something, make something with your hands.
Yes, imagination, baby. That's what I'm all about. I'm gonna show what I was working on till about 7 this morning. I had to do a video and everything on it, but I just had to make me a reptile hand for my Cobra Commander.
Once a man.
Because he didn't come with one. He didn't come with one. What the hell? So that's okay. I'll make one.
That's the spirit, man. Well, how'd you make that? That looks really good.
Oh, thank you. I did do a video on it, but
okay.
I just used a Savage Crucible hand, and I had to waller down the joint to get it in there. Looks pretty good holding the mask and whatnot. And I figured, the size was just a tad bit big, but it doesn't matter because he's going through mutation anyways. Stuff's going to explode and shrink when you're mutating. So I was like, that'll work. And I custom painted it because it was, I had to color match and everything. So I did a little video, show how I color match and stuff. But, man, that's just another way of breaking out, a creative thought and then putting it in the process. And just got to think it out and baby steps. And it wasn't as major as some of my my enhancements, but it was definitely one that was needed.
I can see with the hand with him, every werewolf movie you've ever seen, you see the hand just go, and extend and puff out and stuff. And it might come back when the claws come out. Yeah.
So that's why I was like, it'll work. And my Savage Crucible like came with like so many hands. So I was like, we can borrow one. What's one gonna do?
I did he's back.
No, John, you were about to show something. That's why you're here. How do you do it?
So this is a kit bash that I've done, and I don't know if you guys are familiar of the legend of Obi-Wan Nairobi, but he's this real-life SAS operator in Nairobi, Kenya during a terrorist attack at, I think, the Dusit Thani Hotel in 2009. This guy throws on kit. He's wearing Armani jeans. He has a regular T-shirt and starts pulling people out of the building, smoking terrorists, and like saving the day. And I was like, this is such a cool hero. I should make a figure using Shipwreck's pants, Stalker's torso, dusty hands, and then some Valaverse, the Valaverse head and Valaverse kit to kind of make this guy come to life as an action figure based on a real life dude that would fit the G.I. Joe bill if they were.
Oh shit! No, that's not what I meant to do. John, sorry, I had to say, John, I apologize. That's not at all. I was trying to do something else there. So keep going.
Yeah, so I wanted to make the figure to go with what we call the Obi Nairobi rifle. And it's painted because he had this super cool SAS paint job. So we did the paint job to match. So like I'm sitting there playing too. Like I've got action figures on my kitchen table with my computer. So when I print something, I put it in their hands. I make sure they can shoulder it properly. I really spend time making sure that this is all going to fit together and is going to have some realistic poses and playability with it instead of just, hey, one and done, ship it. I spend a lot of time, and if it gets caught up in design, like I had to shorten the stock on my FG42s because this is a good weapon for a Viper, for a bad guy, and they couldn't shoulder it because of their vests. So I just make some alterations so that the figures that I envision it using, that works. Because I'm going to take pictures of these things and I'm going to sit there and play. I'm going to pose them and do different angles and make sure that like they can hold it properly. And that's part of the fun. And that's how I play. I take pictures of it. I know there's some great photographers I see on Instagram and other places that are really doing some next level stuff, putting blast effects and explosions in the background.
And I think that's a big thing that happens with Hasbro is we wonder, we're like, we get some of these figures and some of these weapons sometimes, and we're like, did they actually play with this? You know, did they actually, you know, tinker around with this? Because I don't think they did.
Or did you
no
just
play testing?
Yeah, no play testing until they're about to go live and they've glued it to the stand, right?
Don't sit here and talk about how bad that guy's stuff is, because I got to open him in a couple hours and make a video on him.
I just opened them.
It's not that it's bad; it's just questionable. There's questionable decisions made with what they've done with that kit.
Oh well, that's something that they do with every bit of classified, isn't it? I mean, it's a sprinkle of this and a dash of that, and unscrew the freaking lid on that part and dump it in.
Sprinkle a little bit of hope, so a little dash of dreams, and hope it all works out.
Yeah, and you know, you hear what was it in Donnie Brasco, and he's talking about a pinch and a punch, throwing the spice in. They just unscrew the cap of questionable and dump the whole thing.
So, John, just because more about the Nairobi Obi-Wan Nairobi there. So, we're talking about, not my thumb, talking about guys that exist in real life that maybe are deserving of a figure. I think that's the entire premise behind what Patriot Force has been trying to do lately. And is that somebody that you follow closely or are very interested in, or what's the deal? Them, Longbow, any other sublines?
So Patriot Force, I got to meet, I think his name's Ryan. We communicate on Instagram, but he's under Patriot Force. I really like where their line's going. I got to visit their booth. He came and checked out some of my stuff, and you know, we may hopefully have some collaboration in the future. We lost you.
No, I'm just turning
okay.
off my.
All right, probably a good reason. And so I really like where that's going. I like the realistic nature of the kit that they're using. And they're modeling this after people that are probably deserving, you know, to have a figure. I guess that you kind of have to walk a line. I don't know if they're doing it or not, of using someone else's suffering and heroism. I'm not accusing anybody of doing that, but I think you have to be careful, you know, to say like, oh, I'm going to market this Obi-Wan guy based off of Christian Craghead, you know, without giving proper credit. I'm sure they do give proper credit to you know, the people who, you know, earned those titles and earned those accolades. But I think it is really cool to, you know, to shed light on, you know, these acts of heroism of real life people. I would just, you know, if it were me doing it, I'm not doing it. So I really probably speaking out of turn, but I would just, you know, make sure I was kicking, you know, giving something that had their endorsement, you know, at least like, hey, do you think this is cool? Is this something you'd want to see? What would you change? And I know
they're very careful about what they've been doing, what they plan on doing. From what we saw of them at Joe Fest, it looks like they've got a really good line on this. But I like the point you made about you know, this is someone else's pain, someone else's suffering. Yeah, it's a heroic story, but sometimes you want to look at, okay, did the person survive, for one, right? Are we talking about a living person or dead? And two, does their family necessarily want to see this person represented in a toy, right? Like, but I think it's a cool premise. And hold up your Nairobi on Kenobi again, just 1 second, because I just really wanted everybody to see that one more time, because you've done the Vala classified kit bash.
Yeah,
an abomination.
Somebody's head just blew up somewhere when you told the recipe.
Yeah. So,
Crow, that figure looks like it would fit in your van that you made, the gypsy van. It looks like he would hop right in there.
He looks a little bit like those guys that were after Doc and Marty with the
right
to get the plutonium
Back to the
back.
Future.
yeah.
That's a really good looking figure. I like the way you did that, and I wouldn't show it on too many streams because Vala might have to bring it out.
Yeah, Bobby's been busy.
Bobby's over there like.
No, Bobby's
But what's cool is, so I had made this pin because again I play a lot and I want a kit bash, and I'll show another one. I made a special replacement pin that would let you swap the heads between Valaverse, between the older GI Joes, because this head will not fit on the Falcon body, and then even bring up where's my Navy SEAL crew.
Now we're talking. I like swappable pins. Yeah.
All right, so we got some Marvel Legends bearded out. This is David Harbour's head sculpt, And then I did a video on fixing Falcon. So that's
nice.
Bucky from Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then
That's
there's
hot.
a little replacement 3D printed. I just took some measurements and it was super easy to make.
Oh wow.
And it goes right back on there. You probably want to heat it up a little bit. I kind of got excited, was just like, show the thing. Yeah, I probably need to heat that up to get it back on.
No,
But yeah,
that's-
just dip it in some hot water and it's golden.
That's the first time I've seen anyone dabble with a new neck joint. How about you, Crow?
That's my biggest reward out of this, for the amount of guys that we know that are doing conversions. And this was another reason why I almost, I probably burned Punk a little bit last night mentioning today's live on his members last night, because I wanted Tony from Action Figs to see this. I wanted Loki. I wanted other guys to see this. The guys that are kit bashing and doing conversions. This head issue between Marvel and Classified, and even to some degree McFarlane, if you wanted to, I guess, for the larger ones, it's an issue. It limits your ability to do the custom you want. So to have a neck bridge piece, John, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Are you selling those, John? You on
They are. They're available on the website www.topfunretrotoys3d.com. And I sell them in packs of 3 for $6, so it's very affordable, and you get 3 different lengths. So you can kind of control the giraffe neck nature.
Yeah.
And I have 2 different ones that allows interoperability between the G.I. Joe figures, and then interoperability between the Marvel Legends and Classified. And I just did G.I. Joe Classified female to Marvel Legends female, so you can put some of those Marvel Legend heads. You can fix that CoverGirl head lickety split.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that CoverGirl head, in my opinion. Not a thing.
My go-to fix.
A lot of CoverGirl on that face. I'll say that. Like, that's a lot of makeup.
My go-to fix for that is to Dremel out, and sometimes the hole is too big, and I just been sticking like clay up in there. I'll stick a piece of clay, but that sucks because the head just falls off or droops down, and it's a nightmare. I'm definitely going to be buying some of those necks.
Yeah, that was the issue that I ran into when I made my suited Tomax and Zaymod. I made them out of the Everett Ross figure, and I had to Dremel their heads, and it worked. But you got to put sticky tack on them, and their neck is like they almost have no neck because the heads are just a little big. And I think a proper size ball adapter would really fix that. What was that? Your cat purring?
No, man, that's not mine, right?
All right, that's probably Charlie. Charlie is. I'm gonna have to mute here and there. Charlie is going off.
I thought that was Crow's cat. I'm like, man, he's happy.
Charlie is on the VR.
No, so Loki Wartooth taught me a little bit of hot glue and Vaseline. You could make these things fit and stay afterwards, but then they're kind of locked in, eh? Like, they do all that, but they're locked in and they're not as interchangeable until you heat the glue up again. This seems like a very great, viable solution. You're showing us. Yeah.
So
this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, so these are from Don Man. And Esteban. He's out of Colombia. He has an action figure line called Fist, and he designs his own figures. He also has a Patreon, but these are the Iron Grenadier heads. And the way he designs them is they're hollow, and you have to use sticky tack. So I went in CAD and I modified it so it could go on to the Marvel Legends Red Skull bodies to kind of give you an Iron Grenadier look. And those things will pop right off, and they'll move, they'll reverse, but they're not. You have to deliberately remove the head. So I want to get some of those painted up and kind of make my own Iron Grenadier, because like the suit and tie was a bit like, and I think that the Red Skull had sort of that World War II bad guy, World War I look that I think that was the inspiration for some of those figures in the original series.
Well, the Hydra troop build had so much parallel to the SS, right? So you get the black leather, but you get the military part of it as well, right? So John, I wanted to ask you, just because we're in an hour right now, and I said I would only go maybe up to 2 hours, and there's so much we could ask you today, probably fill 3. But HasLabs, I know you buy them. I know you're interested in them. Have you looked at anything that you can do for those?
So I have a hiss, right? And I started taking pictures to work on a video, but depending on what my workload is, my bandwidth, sometimes that doesn't happen. I'd really like to put a Dishka on the hiss. So I've been kind of working on a Dishka. I do have a PKM. So if you're familiar
These are
with
heavy
PKM,
machine guns. Right?
yeah, PKM is a Russian belt-fed machine gun. It would be mountable for the hiss. And I did blast effects for an RPG, and it wouldn't be that difficult to kind of make blast effects for the hiss, or even for the Dragonfly, or when the what's the new one coming out? Rattler. It wouldn't be hard to do that. I don't know if there's interest though.
Well, this is a good way to gauge, because we've got HasLabs here. Like, I just joining the HasLab party finally, thanks to these two. But you guys have had HasLabs basically since there's been HasLabs. What do you think? Is there stuff missing from the HasLabs that a 3D printer could probably take advantage of in your eyes there? I'll start with Aaron, and then I'll ask Aaron. So, Aaron, what do you think? Is there stuff that you'd like to see?
It's definitely something I'd like to see. If I could replace the guns here and there on my hiss tanks, and I like the ones that they come with, but man, I'm all for like trying to make things look a little different. And the hiss tank is one of the HasLabs that I think is perfect. But now that you're mentioning, if you're gonna make a swappable gun where I can put in my new turret and all that, and man, I'd be all up for it. That's just the kind of guy I am. I'm always looking for different stuff.
And what about, sorry, I'm just going to pop Darren on then and go. So, Darren, you've got them as well. And have you identified anything you wished were different for HasLab that maybe a 3D printer like John could look at and say, well, there's part of it?
I'm not as inclined to mix and match and tear stuff apart as you guys are, but with the availability of it and knowing that it's said, I would like to try some different things on it just to see what it looks like, because I don't really think there's much improvement that can be done for the hiss, but is what Aaron does, there is enhancement that can be done for the hiss. I would like to see something different for the side missile pods that pop into the ports on the side. Maybe a different type of the side cannons, the not the main turret cannon, but the machine guns on the sides, 50s or whatever they are. Maybe, the anti-aircraft or whatever, anti-personnel guns, maybe some options for those, even maybe with some stuff that's not guns. I mean, you could design extra armor for that turret to protect the gunner on the sides. Or there's a lot of things that you could do that wouldn't necessarily be weapons, but I would like to see some crazy options for the side missile pods. Like, give me a giant ass like harpoon or something to
or even
spear an enemy vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a fictitious Joe universe. There is a degree of sci-fi that goes with all of that, and that, John, that raises a point. Like, have you ever looked at creating your own weaponry, like science fiction created but based in reality? Have you looked at those markets at all for yourself? Like, where have you looked for that?
So I do take some liberty, and I'll pull up an example. Well, see if I have an example of one in front of me. And I don't. Maybe I'll bring it in later. So the FG-42 was a World War II weapon. And I have a couple of versions where I've modernized it. So I've added a foregrip. I've put a suppressor on it. I've put an LPVO optic. So taking some of like the old classic guns that are still very iconic, but then updating them to where they might be relevant, on today's battlefield. I think that's something that I'm probably a little more inclined to do than make my own. I have thought about taking the original Viper rifle and making like a cruiser version where it has bipods and then ammo links for it, making a submachine gun version of that. Because I did do the Spirit Aura rifle for classified. So I really do like to draw. Oh yeah. Well, I was talking about this guy right here, the OG.
the arrow launcher.
Yeah, do that guy and make a sniper version, enhance the scope, turn these foregrips into bipods, make a machine gun version where this is then an ammo box with links going into it to kind of like give that a little more, it's still an iconic GI Joe weapon, but this is the same receiver, like an AK could be used for a personal defense weapon all the way up to an RPK squad LMG.
John, do you have those available on your site, the Viper rifles?
I do not. I have not. This is a purchase, and I would kind of use it as like a reference point and some reference photos. So I thought this was really cool. It's really overscaled, unfortunately.
I know a lot of people that need about 50 of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So whoever did this they scaled it a little large, but I would definitely consider visiting the ARA line and sort of updating those. I did do the ARA spear gun for the eels. I call it the seals and eel pack. So it has it's a glued in spearhead, but it's a different color. So it's like a silver color onto the black gun itself. And I have this here. This is an actual Russian, based off the Russian APS underwater gun. So this is a weapon that will fire underwater. And it has this really weird magazine, and I hope you can see it. The texture of I'm doing this in reverse too.
Texture will be hard, but we can see.
Yeah, it's really. So I put a lot into the detail of that, but this is a real world weapon that sort of looks sci-fi and feels sci-fi. That a gun that shoots underwater. It has these really long darts and a small casing. And I guess the premise is that in close quarters, two divers that were trying to fight it out within a couple yards of each other. This guy could shoot somebody. Put holes in them by using a conventional, a conventional 7.62 round that's probably not going to go very far or have any lethality.
Well, anything's better than what we got with the eels. So
repeatedly.
That's a good idea. Before I forget, I wanted to ask you a question, and going back in time about 20-25 minutes. When you were talking about the stocks, like when we were talking about Naugahyde and all that, and you had mentioned the stocks and where you can get them into a firing position, is that something you do when you design yours with that in mind, so you could take something that has a longer stock and actually get it up to the shoulder and get in a firing position better? If you went over that, I'm sorry I missed that part.
No, the eye relief check, you do that?
Oh, absolutely. So what I do is I will sit here. I'm gonna get one with a grip on it, and I prototype, and I make sure that this guy can actually hold it. And I'm getting him in position here so that he would have, what would be pretty solid cheek weld and then eye relief from the optic. So it's not going to be perfect because the different, some have body armor, some don't. But this is how you would actually hold a weapon in real life.
Yes.
And sometimes the stock is too long, so I have to go back, shorten the buffer tube or shorten that up a little bit to make sure they can grip it. And then same thing with the bipods. Like, these are probably a bit long, but if you look at the website, the guy is in a shooting position holding the sniper rifle with the bipods on the ground, and they're sturdy. Like, they're not going to break unless you could drop it all day long and it's going to be fine.
And people need to understand, right? Like, yeah, we all want to have that sniper in the prone position with the eye relief, and he's perfectly set on the rifle. But in real life, his kit can collapse on him. He can spread it out. He can do things to hold to the ground. You can't do this with an action figure. There's no give with guy's belly, right? Same as with rifles. You need to be able to fold your shoulder into the stock and have that tight. You mentioned cheek weld. You can't do that with a plastic figure.
One thing I loved about this gun was how long the bipod was. I was like, that's awesome. They're always a little too short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we were to look at him on the ground, I mean, you can see that's pretty level to his stomach, and we kind of got to prop his elbows up, but he'd be kind of doing that in real life.
Yeah. I'm setting mine on sandbags to elevate it, and it's a pain.
No, that's great that you have that showing. Hey, I want to quickly just go back to the chat, say hi to a few other people that have joined us. I know Triple C is definitely here now, and we've been joined by Legend Series Photography. One of those guys you were talking about that you've seen impressive photography about. Him and Digital Diarrhea are two of our friends that are at it all the time, so maybe you've seen them. It's Jay Gonzo is here, and he's sending weird
weird cryptic messages about stars and death and arms and a top salute.
What's up, Gonzo?
Thank you, saying hi to John, and it's good to have you guys all here. So one of the questions that was asked was from Triple C here, and it says, do you plan on expanding into other things on your store, like mini play sets? We've heard Hasbro talk about their stance on, that missing adventure market for your shelf. Is that something you've ever paid any mind to?
So I did do some sandbags. I have a guy who does 135 dioramas, and he wanted some sandbags for like an Afghanistan setup he was doing, and that wouldn't be hard to scale. I don't really know what people would be interested in. And so here's the other thing is when I ship these, it costs the customer very little, if anything, to ship, right? So they're paying $5 flat rate. Anything over 40 ships for free. And as soon as I get anything in a box that's larger than 11 inches, the price to ship goes up substantially. So anything I did, that would have to be a consideration. Are people willing to pay, the ship to have that shipped? Where it's a lot easier with smaller items. But I'd love to hear what people are interested in for
sandbags, apparently, for one. Aaron and Aaron's got some very realistic fabric ones that he got from another set. I have some good ones that were given from McFarlane Toys and whatnot.
I think they're almost mandatory.
I think every war scene, you demand to have them at some point on your shelf.
There's little beans in there, and they were cheap. I got them on Amazon. That's where I actually got them. It's not a particular brand, or of course someone makes them, but it didn't come from a toy line or anything like that. But I found them, and I was like, oh my goodness! And they come in a nice box, and I just thought it looks great with the setups.
And Gonzo mentions Hesco Bastions, but those things, I think when we talk about that 11-inch barrier, unless you want to just order 2 Hesco Bastions and then order another 2 and another 2, I think you're going to break that line that you were talking about, John. I was thinking about that Hiss tank, and there was a couple of small pieces on here. I was like, what I would buy for this thing, easy, and it has nothing to do with replacing anything. I would fix this drum situation on the ACAC, for one. Like, they got lazy with the mold and said, one universal port, but it doesn't work for the phalanx guns on there. One is facing the wrong direction. I would definitely correct an ammo bin for this thing. The other thing I was thinking about, we talked about blast effects for these and maybe replacing all of these. And John, these aren't me saying, I hope you do these. These are my wishes for it. Was the way these, I'm assuming these are like tomahawks or something, right? The way they would launch, it would have to come out to the side, drop, and then pitch. And I would love to see a blast effect that captures it coming off that side mount, right? Otherwise, we're using things like scrap irons, drone launches, and things like that. But just to see something coming off that side mount. And the last one is a clamp to go across this stupid front end that will never close properly on that hatch. If anyone has fought with this to try and get the red and black hatch to close properly, we need a
and you don't want to force it too much because you break it, you just out.
I've actually taught myself how to click mine down. It is a little tedious, but I can make mine shut.
Well, you got to come over and teach me. But I wanted to see, because John, you're infantry by nature and by love and blood, right? So weapon storage racks. Any plans?
So I do have a partnership with Don Man, and we're going to start including some of his stuff on the website. Normally, I design all my own weapons, but he does some diorama. He does some weapon storage racks, and if that's something that people want to see, and really the way things kind of find their way there is requests. If someone's like, dude, I really want this, and I know they're serious, then I make it happen. Like that's how the EBRs came to life. That's how the camo patterns came to life. Was someone said, hey, can you do this? And again, if I know they're serious, it's hard to do a one-off thing. But if I get enough people saying, hey, we'd really like to see this, then it's something that I'll absolutely entertain, because I think the storage. I bought the I can't remember what the brand was, but you can find it on Amazon. It's like an ammo little work table with a bench or a wall in the background you can mount your stuff to. I just never got around to setting it up. Yeah, I'd love to hear some ideas.
Super action stuff makes
Yeah,
one
that's
of those.
it. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So Legend Series, I think, is a great guy to kind of lean towards right now because he's in the chat. He's very interested. He wants to know your website. Tony, it's in the channel, the episode description. I put a link to his site, but it is, I'll put you up there, John, so that he can see that. There's his website. So isn't it nice, guys, to realize that we're now in an era with enough guys doing their own small companies and startups and all this other stuff, that you kind of got to get used to the idea that they're not a faceless big box store, that they want your feedback, that they may actually act on your feedback. So instead of sitting and complaining about a toy, you might actually be able to use your voice to improve that toy through somebody else and help them out, right? So do pay attention to what John's saying. If there's things you want to see for your Joe shelf that fall within his scope, go hit a side up, talk to him about it. John seems very receptive to that. Are you not, John?
Yeah, and so the best way to contact me is you go to the website www.topfunretrotoys3d.com, click contact us, and when I say us, it's really just me. That's a fancy way of, I'm not running a facade or anything, but us is really me, and I respond to those emails, every one of them. I respond to comments on the YouTube channel, and give me your suggestions. Let me know. Because it may be something I'm working on. I run about 20 different projects at a time, and they kind of come to fruition when they do. But if someone's got something they're interested in, I can expedite that and kind of get it out. Or if someone says, hey, will you modernize an MP40 with a suppressor? Well, I am working on an MP40 for some World War II stuff. It's just kind of on the back burner. So I'd love to hear what you guys are interested in. Let me know. I answer all of those emails. I definitely reply. And if it's something that I tell people, if it's a one-off thing, it's like no one's ever asked for that before, I'll get to it when I get to it. But there's probably a pretty good chance that I'm thinking the same thing or somebody else has asked for it. So hit me up. I'm happy to entertain it.
Right on. I got to take a time out for everyone right now, just because I meant to point this out probably 6 minutes ago. Our good friend Wraith Mace has a video that is set to premiere about 6 minutes ago. It is going to be the last video he does for a little while. He's taking a little break from YouTube for a bit to go deal with some stuff. But this video is got a lot in it for 6 minutes. This
thing live now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be crunched. So, guys, in my life, I'm going to sum this one up at about now. John, I apologize for cutting it short, but I just noticed that, and I just remembered that he does have his video, and I want people to see this video. Absolutely. But John, I really want to have you back again in probably about a couple of months' time, just because I think this was really good. And there was so much more that we need to talk about your company and just your Joe interests and the interest in toys. But I wanted to give last rounds to these two guys to just, ask you a final question and then tell us what's coming to their show so you can go check them out and see if that interests you. So I'm going to start with Darren because he was late joining us and hasn't had much to say. So Darren, take your time, ask any questions that you haven't had, and then just let us know what's going on with your channel, buddy.
No, I'm just, I got to get on there and check you out. I saw a bunch of your weapons when we were at Joe Fest, and I love the things. I'm not somebody that often, re-equips my figures with other weapons, but I'm getting into it. That's just the way I've always collected my stuff. Like I've never really mixed and matched kit from one figure to another, and that's something I'm trying to get into. And I do want some more realistic weapons for some of these guys. So I know you've got some of the AKs, and you mentioned the Barretts, because those are made here where I'm at. And so there's some I definitely want to look into. I like pistols. I like akimbo pistols on figures. So I want to look at a couple sets of those maybe. But yeah, your product is great, and I'm interested in seeing what all you come up with down the line, you said you're always working on something, always designing something. And this is something that there's a need for, because people are unhappy with the factory weapons that we're getting from some of these companies, particularly Hasbro. And even me, as somebody that doesn't often switch my weapons up, like there's some of them that are just so bad or just don't make sense to come with what other character. I'm like, I need better options. And of course, everybody was like, gridiron. I like gridiron, but I can't pay more for a weapon than I paid for a figure. So I like that stuff.
Yeah,
But if I just want, one weapon or something, yeah, the stuff looks great, guys. I saw it in person, so check him out, check his stuff out, and throw some business his way. So I've got some stuff in mind I need to order. As for what I got coming up, just got some reviews I got to get done. I got Naugahyde here. I got something else coming today that is not G.I. Joe. I hope to get that reviewed, and got a project I'm working on, trying to build something, which is something that I don't really do, not my forte, but I am trying my hand at trying to custom build something. And then this Wednesday night on my channel on 3-Star Draw, I will be back with my cousin Pop Blender, go over G.I. Joe stuff, and we might talk about some other, who knows, relevant G.I. Joe adjacent pop culture stuff. But be back with him doing that on Wednesday.
Nice. Okay, so John, you got your congratulations on your retirement, and Bobby's guys are shifting over to the channel. So Aaron, over to you. Any last rounds with John before we let him go about his day in your channel? What's going on?
Yeah, John. I just want to say, the weapons that I bought, four rifles from you, and you threw in some free handguns for me just making the purchase. And man, when Crow brought me over to that table, I was highly impressed, and I was like, wait a minute, I was like, there's more than meets the eye here, and I was trying to check everything out and ended up picking. But I get complimented on these rifles all the time, especially dressed up with my Tiger Force and the paint app that is put on here, and I fell in love with them. And on my shelf, my Tiger Force holds all the weapons I've got from you, because I just love them so much. I got to pick some more up. The price point is right, for the hand and the hand painting and the detail that you put into these. I mean, it's you can't beat it. One question I had is are you or you may have these? Do you have like weapons crates that will hold rifles and whatnot, or have you gotten down that far yet?
Oh, and we'll go.
So I have crates that, and these are accurate with the Soviet Cyrillic lettering for ammo, right? So inside these crates are two 7.62 by 39 spam cans, and it's properly marked. So I really want to do some AK crates, because I think this is something that like Destro would want to bring to the table.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I
like Sons of Anarchy, man, with opening up the crates.
And maybe even have some little packing straw, from the arts and crafts stores, and it's got some of the hay in there.
Man. Yes.
Yeah, and that would not be a hard thing to do. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something I can fast track. I'd love to do
something I have crates, but they're not great for holding weapons, and I can only find like so many prints. But I would like to see a more accurate box crate or something like that. Like it just got smuggled across the border.
Yeah, with the actual racks in it to hold the stocks.
Yes, that would be awesome, and I think it would be great. But yeah, I'm gonna go over to your website and make some more purchases. Like I said, I was completely satisfied, and I put them to the test. They've fallen over with the rifles, and nothing's broke, and I'm just super stoked in the amount of detail that you put into them, and like Darren was saying, it's a little better price than Gridiron, and Gridiron can get very, very in your pocket, So I like where you're going. I think you're gonna take off and have a bunch of success. Guys, as for my channel, I just got some reviews coming up, and some Mythic Legions, and I got some Marvel Legends coming up. But yeah, congrats on just being able to create, you know, these rifles and this type of weaponry. And again, I love that the mags don't come out. I love that the bipod is. I love that, man. I don't really need to fold these things over. They look way cool, and then I don't have to worry about losing stuff. You know, so congrats on the great job that you did, and again, the paint. I mean, look at the weathering. It is immaculate.
And the wood featuring, that was another thing, is capturing the right wood, like mahogany or oak or pine, you know, like it's there. Hey, John, so that's Aaron and Darren, and they really, you know, it was great for them to get to see you again, get more time with you in a less crowded forum than the middle of friggin' Joe Fest sales floor. I'm going to hand it to you next to just kind of let us know, you know, well, we know what you're doing, right? And we know, but just last digs on maybe any last thing that you have on hand that you want to show or talk about. And then I'll just close things out before I meet you all backstage, because I want to draw attention to a couple of other quick things before we go. So I'm going to hand it over to you, John, and just walk us out. Tell us how to find you, all that stuff.
Right. You can find me at www.topfunretrotoys3d.com. It's the same on Instagram, Facebook. I'm in my true name on Facebook, John Kreutzer. That's JohnKreutzer. You can friend me. I'm in all the Facebook groups, all the G.I. Joe Facebook groups. I'm in some Star Wars and Valaverse Facebook groups as well. Hit me up. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you'd like to see brought to market. Happy to at least have the conversation. I'd love to hear it. And then I know pistols came up earlier. And so I know a couple of you guys are talking about you bag up your accessories. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I bag up most of the accessories, but some of the pistols I've created, like this is an HK USP, and this is compatible with a lot of the Hasbro holsters. Same thing with my main man Beachhead. He's got a Mark 23 with suppressor, and that fits really nicely into his holster. And the same thing with Snow Viper. He's got, you're talking about some Akimbo pistols. He's got dual Glock 18s, and even these have the selector switch on them to go to full auto. Let's see, they do kind of stick in there a little bit, but these have extended magazines, suppressors, and optics. So like I said, I can't do just one. I'll do like 5 or 6 versions of each weapon. So I know pistols were kind of lacking. So I try to up the pistol game a little bit and bring some variety for people. Right. But guys, I really appreciate you having me on. I had a lot of fun. This was great, a little overdue, and a lot of that's my fault. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated, and thanks for the conversations, the insight, and you know, the attention. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, John, I definitely want to talk to you again on a forum. Like keep you in the circle. You can show us new products from time to time. That's great. We also have another great 3D printer in Loki Wartooth, who I know is looking at what you're doing and going, that's inspiring. I like that. I want that file. You know, things like that. One of the things I forgot to mention and I wanted to fill the time with, but I'll just touch on it. Okay, guys, you've heard me talk about the military brand of thinking and how they're trained to do a planning process, the battle procedure, and all the key factors of an estimate and things like that. John has applied a lot of the teachings and the thinking problem thinking and values of the military into the business that he's got going, just so he can stay organized. If you're running a small 3D print business or anything like that, I'm sure if you were to ask John how he tackles certain problems in this huge new market, John, would you be open to answer questions like that?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about it briefly, but yeah, it's silly with the military planning process and deciding, all right, what's our main effort, what's supporting effort 1 and 2, where are we going to allocate resources, because you can't get more time. You have only the time that's allotted, and you have to accomplish certain things. Have to come first. You can't put the cart before the horse. Yep. So that application has really helped. You know, what limited success I've had has been because of that.
Okay. Perfect. And so I wanted, because I thought we should talk about that, because like I said, these are the things that they teach in university, but the military gets it as part of their job. With regards to Aaron's channel, I'm just going to quickly draw eyes over to one. Before I get to Aaron, Wraith Mace, make sure you check out that live stream today. We Are the Hammer. And we're going to go support right after this. I'm definitely checking that out today, making sure to hit that like and leaving a comment to send them our best wishes. Aaron, over to your channel really quickly. Aaron has done he jumped when everybody else paused.
Okay, he has a Cobra Commander I Was Once a Man review on there. Please, if you haven't seen that, you want to get in front of the line to see what somebody's impressions are. He also has a follow-up video. He tweaked it. Darren, down south 77, has just crossed the 300 threshold in his subscribers. He's done a video out there. If you haven't watched it, that's your fault, but you should probably watch it, okay? Because there's probably some follow-ups going on at some point. But do check out Darren's channel. 300 is just the start for a guy like that, and we're gonna be celebrating 400 before you know it. Congratulations, Darren. John, for yourself, buddy. Thank you very much for your time today, for your openness with the company and just your life a little bit. Definitely, I hope that you feel like you've gotten a bit of exposure today. I can definitely see in the comments, guys like Legend Series and Triple C, they're all going to probably check you out. So hopefully this gets you something, and I look forward to seeing you again. For the guys in the chat, make sure you're checking out Wraithmates. Make sure you're checking out all three of these guys down here. Keep checking me out. Don't forget to hit the like button. And I'm going to let you guys go. And we are going Grievance. Hi. Check the replay, buddy. And I'm going to see these guys backstage. All right. Everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yep. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Top Fun.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you.